Remember the 2004 Olympics? Well, nearly 2 decades after the closing ceremonies, the abandoned site of the Athens Games is about to be turned into a casino. This bold new master plan is out to revitalise an area that's long sat abandoned and fallen into disrepair. The $8.2 billion mega project will include houses, hotels, offices, a Riviera, and Athens' new tallest building, all in a bid to write a more sustainable version of the capital's story. It'll be one of the largest construction projects this ancient country has ever taken on, and that's saying something. But modern Athens has a history of spending too big on splashy projects. The Olympics actually cost a very similar amount, but helped spur the country into a massive debt crisis. So can Athens really and quite literally pave over its tarnished Olympic legacy? Can this project redeem the city, or will it too become another white elephant? Athens is a city full of ruins. Some date back thousands of years, while others date back to, well, 2004. Many former Olympic venues now stand abandoned. What were once vibrant arenas, pools and sporting complexes where billions around the world tuned in to watch are now dilapidated wrecks. Of course, it wasn't always like this. Turn the clock back 19 years and you'll find a city on the centre of the world stage braced for an event like no other. The Olympics had come home. Athens overwhelmingly won the Games on the promise that many of its facilities were already built and that the Greek government would cover any expenses that went over the $1.6 billion planned budget. That turned out to be easier said than done. At the time, Athens seemed like the obvious choice. It had lost a previous bid to host the 1996 Games on what would have been the centenary of the modern Olympics. There was a general sentiment that Greece was kind of owed the Games. Now, it's probably fair to say that many were swept up in this romantic idea rather than what actually made the best economic sense. It's no surprise that that somewhat modest $1.6 billion soon ballooned. Many of the budget woes stemmed from delayed construction works, which then meant spending more in a rush to get major projects finished on time. And that all undermined any serious long-term planning for many of the new venues. There's no clear final number thanks to what the head of the Greek Olympic Committee calls creative accountancy, but estimates have ranged from $6 to $29 billion. That doesn't take into account the $7 billion spent on infrastructure upgrades like the new airports, an extended and renovated subway, and light rail systems. Now, Athens is nowhere near the most expensive Games, but it landed a very long way from that original pitch of a relatively low-budget event. Once the Olympics left town, many of the venues failed to be adapted. The Olympic Village was supposed to be repurposed into the country's biggest social housing developments, but that never happened. Other structures had no post-Olympic plan at all, no environmental strategies, or even basic business plans on their futures. It was also reported that the country couldn't afford the estimated $64 million it would take to maintain the venues as they were. In the end, the legacy of the Athens Games was debt. They helped set off an economic catastrophe.
Overseas now to Greece, a country on the brink of collapse. Banks shuttered, ATMs running out of cash.
For recovery of the Greek economy, difficult measures and reforms are inevitable.
A country deeply divided. All week, the banks closed, life savings locked up inside. Endless lines at ATMs with withdrawals limited to just $67.
While Greece has since more or less recovered economically, the legacy of this period still remains. It's somewhat fitting then that the country's next construction megaproject is going to be built on the ruins of its last one. The Ellinikon, Athens' massive new development, is giving new life to a former softball pitch, hockey field, fencing venue and decommissioned airport. Built around a 600-acre new coastal green space bigger than London's Hyde Park, will be a district full of apartments, hotels, shops and more. The development wants to be seen as environmentally conscious, with long-term planning at its forefront, unlike the Games. Our built environment is responsible for 40% of all greenhouse gas emissions, and new developments have a responsibility to change the way we build for the better. The park will have only native Greek plants, while the airport's 1960s design terminal will be retained and converted. Tarmac from the runways is even going to be repurposed into benches and paving. The sheer amount of green space being added into Athens by this park will help the city fight its urban heat island effect. That's a phenomenon where a city's concrete, stone and asphalt absorb and retain heat, often leading dense urban environments to become hotter than their surrounding rural counterparts. Athens is already facing the effects of climate change with higher temperatures and more intense weather events, so more green spaces are desperately needed. The former Olympic canoe and kayak areas are going to be converted into a new 3.7-acre lake which will collect and store stormwater to be reused in the park. Rising above all of it will be the first of 6 new high-rises, Marina Tower. At 200 metres, it'll be the tallest building in Greece, and according to Foster & Partners, the architects behind the building, one of the greenest on the Mediterranean. It's being designed to hopefully achieve a LEED Gold rating, meaning a 35% energy saving as compared to a conventional building of similar size. And of course there's that casino, 120 gaming tables and 1,200 slot machines, all sitting beneath a new luxury hotel. The plan is for the whole endeavour to be powered entirely by renewable energy with photovoltaic panels on nearly every rooftop. The aim is for no energy to be diverted from Greece's national grid into powering this new development. Your typical commercial building uses an average of 22.5 kilowatt hours per square foot a year, so having all of that come from renewable energy is kind of exactly how we should be thinking about our new buildings. It's worth saying that while a lot of this all sounds too good to be true, the reality is that Athens has been itching for this kind of revitalisation for a while. The idea to turn the abandoned venues and airport into a park has been around since the 2004 Olympics themselves, but finding a financial backer has been difficult, and the 2008 financial crisis, followed by the debt crisis, followed by the pandemic, all helped further delay the plans. Now, things seem to be happening quickly. The first phase of the park is set to be completed by the end of 2025, and that'll include 250 acres of parkland and the entire coastal front. Many of the lessons from the Games seem to have been learned. For the most part, this is a sustainable, environmentally conscious project that the city actually needs. The parkland alone will more than double the amount of green space in Athens, while the Riviera and Marina will likely become a magnet for residents and visitors alike, hopefully providing an economic boost. While it may have taken a casino and several tall buildings to fund it, the designers of this new space have bold ambitions for it to become Athens' version of New York's Central Park, a beloved public space that will, hopefully, outlast the ruins of the Olympics. There's also the chance to dive deeper on this and the other topics on our channel over on the World's Best Construction Podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts. And as always guys, if you liked this video and you want to learn more about where construction is headed, make sure you're subscribed to tomorrow's build.